Hello, and welcome to a video on completing the square part 2 brought to you by the Answer series. In this video, we will look at how to use completing the square in functions. The first examples I want to look at are ones that you can encounter in functions. So what I've given you here is I've said rewrite f of x equals x squared plus 6x plus 8, in other words a parabola, in the form f of x equals a bracket x minus p all squared plus q. And whenever you see a question like this, you must know that you are going to be completing the square. So what I do is the following. Just as I've done before, I take the x squared and the x term and I'm going to complete the square. So I take half the coefficient of x, and half of 6 is 3, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on 3 squared. But now there's a difference here, because in the previous examples on completing the square, I took the constant across to the other side and I added on that amount on both sides. The problem is here I've got an f of x on the left hand side. It's not equal to 0. So what I need to do to compensate for that plus 3 squared, I need to minus 3 squared. So the plus 3 squared minus 3 squared cancel out, which means I've got exactly what I had in the beginning. Now you might ask, why have I done that if these are going to cancel out? Well, the reason is because these first 3 terms are going to give you a perfect square. So those first 3 terms give you x plus 3 all squared. And then I collect together 8 minus 9 is minus 1. And there I've rewritten f of x in the required form. And it is incredibly useful to have it in this form if you want to find the coordinates of the turning point. So you know that a bracket squared is always positive or 0, which means the smallest that this part can ever be is 0. So the smallest the whole thing can ever be is minus 1. So the minimum is minus 1. When do I get minus 1 as an answer? I get it when this bracket is 0. And when is this bracket 0? It's when x is equal to minus 3. So the turning point of my parabola is minus 3 minus 1. And because my a value is positive, I know that my arms go up. So it's an incredibly useful form to give you the turning point of a parabola. I've got another example here for you to try first before we do it together. Just be very careful, because now there's a minus 2x squared. And remember we said with completing the square, you want the coefficient of x squared to be 1. So the first thing you're going to have to do is sort out that minus 2. But unlike in the previous examples where I could just divide everything by minus 2, I can't here because it's equal to f of x. So what you need to do is take out minus 2 as a factor and then do the whole completing the square. So pause the video, try this one yourself, and then we'll look at it together. Okay, so the first thing I do is I take out the minus 2, and I'm left with that. Don't worry about fractions, we must just be able to deal with them. I then take half the coefficient of x, which is minus 2, so I get minus 1, and I then add that on squared. And remember we said whether you're adding on minus 1 squared or 1 squared, it's the same thing. So I add on the 1 squared. To compensate for it, I need to subtract 1 squared. The first 3 terms form a perfect square, and the last 2 terms I collect together to get minus 3 over 2. All I now need to do is multiply the minus 2 back into the bracket. Do not multiply it into the bracket with x minus 1 all squared, just leave it outside. But minus 2 times minus 3 over 2 is plus 3. Now that it's in this form, I can get the coordinates of my turning point. You know that a bracket squared is positive or 0. So minus 2 times a bracket squared is going to be negative or 0. So the maximum that this part will ever be is 0. So the maximum the whole thing will ever be is 3. So the maximum is 3. When will I get 3 as an answer? I'll get that as an answer when this bracket is equal to 0. So when is that bracket equal to 0? It's when x is 1. So the turning point of my parabola is 1, 3. And because the coefficient of x squared is negative, I know that the arms go down. So there I've used completing the square in functions.
Check out the video description below for practice questions from our study guides. If you found this video useful, give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any new episodes. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook to stay on top of the latest TAS news and launches. So that's it for now from the Answer Series, your key to exam success.